News of the president's death spread across the country. The moment seared itself into the memory of all who heard.
Part of me died that day in Dallas. I could never forget it.
Well, it was very hard to accept. He was not only my boss and leader for 11 years, but he was my friend. And the idea of his suddenly being removed from the scene when he was at the peak of his powers was simply senseless, irrational, and unacceptable.
Like most Americans, white and black, I was stunned, shocked beyond belief. For weeks, I walked around zombie-like.
And Lyndon Johnson called me on the phone with a very nice call, express his thoughts, and I said, "Thank you, Mr. President," and hung up the phone, and then for the first time all day, I broke down, realizing that John F. Kennedy was no longer President of the United States.
I thought that everything that I believed in had died with him.
Oh, I think we went through a period there where it was weeks. I mean, of real sorrow. I mean, crying. I mean, an ache. And to me, I had this terrible embarrassment about my country, our country.
The mixture of grief, incredulity, and shame, which one felt that such a thing could have taken place in one's country. Something that really hasn't left me yet.
And I think that there wasn't anyone who wasn't personally affected by that. It was so traumatic. The world stood still for a moment.
In Dallas, police searched the school book depository, but Lee Harvey Oswald had already fled. After picking up a pistol from his rooming house, he shot and killed Dallas policeman J.D. Tippit, who tried to question him. Shortly afterward, Oswald was arrested in a movie house. He was put on display at Dallas Police Headquarters.
I positively know nothing about this situation here. I would like to have legal representation.
At 3:38 that afternoon, on board Air Force One, Lyndon Baines Johnson was sworn in as the 36th President of the United States.
Serve. Protect. Defend. Constitution of the United States. Constitution of the United States.
At 6:04 p.m. Eastern Time, the same aircraft, carrying the body of John F. Kennedy, arrived at Andrews Air Force Base outside Washington, D.C. Around the world, the display of grief was overwhelming.
For the dreams of a multitude of men rode with him to his death.
This song was part of a special edition of the BBC television program, That Was the Week That Was. Within hours, cast members scrapped their scheduled format of satire and put together this tribute. David Frost was one of the hosts.
But with the murder of John Kennedy, death has become immediate to people all over the world. For the first time, because of the stature of the man and the nature of a shrinking world, people everywhere feel they've lost someone they'll miss.
In Berlin, thousands carried candles into the night. In Latin America and Africa and Asia, there were tears and prayers.
John F. Kennedy's death, for some reason, meant something to everybody.
On Monday, John F. Kennedy was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. It was the most elaborate state funeral in American history. Since that November, there have been hundreds of books, films, and other accounts of John F. Kennedy's administration. Some veterans of those days believe that the new frontier may have been over-romanticized. McGeorge Bundy.
The White House was not sort of one long alternation between touch football and glamorous parties. It was damn hard work, but it was very exciting work. with a wonderful guy on top.
Dean Rusk.
He was an incandescent man who tended to set people around him on fire. But his years as president were years of crisis. Fortunately for all of us, he was very cool at moments of crisis. He had ice water in his veins and brought us through some dreadfully dangerous crises safely.
Mac Kilduff.
I suppose the greatest accomplishment of John Kennedy is one that you can't put your finger on because it's not a specific, and that is that he made politics something other than a dirty word.
Letitia Baldridge.
But whatever it was, the young people wrote to the White House from all over the world saying, "We're going into politics, Mr. President."
When John F. Kennedy was alive, it was young people who were most receptive to his ideas. And today, among youngsters who were born long after his death, there is a remarkable awareness of what he stood for.
John F. Kennedy, to me, was a leader who always looked into the future.
He's a people's man. I think he was a caring man.
He wasn't a god or anything like that, but he tried. He tried to do good things.
I think of him starting the Peace Corps and inspiring others into service.
These young people are members of the John F. Kennedy Library Corps in Boston. Sponsored by the Kennedy Library Foundation, they volunteer for community projects throughout the Boston area. Some of them see their work as a 1980s response to a speech made in 1961.
Try to do something for your country instead of looking for your country to do something for you.
Well, his most important message, I think, was one man can make a difference and everyone should try. It's a really good feeling to know that just by working a bit with an idea you have, you can really make a significant difference.
It is this legacy that warms the memories of the friends of John F. Kennedy. 25 years later, how often do you think of him?
Every day.
Poupon, one of life's finer pleasures.
On night court, it's a big bird, some big pigs,
Feel free to use the utensils.
and some perky pilgrims.
Just like a dream I had the other night.
Give thanks with night court. Then, it's David Letterman, Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, Howie Mandel, and more in the funniest reunion of the year.
The United Caucasian College Fund needs your help.
2 great hours of comedy Wednesday.
"25 years after that murderous day in Dallas, we still don't know for sure whether Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. There are provocative theories and new witnesses have come forward, but there is nothing to absolutely contradict the findings of the Warren Commission that Oswald was the lone assassin. What we do know is that when the young president was killed, it opened a long run of violence and national agony, lasting almost 2 decades. Historians now are beginning to judge the political record of John F. Kennedy, and that record is getting mixed reviews. But John F. Kennedy, the man, his grace, wit, and intellect, his dedication to public service, John F. Kennedy as a symbol of national achievement, hope, and promise. That legacy is secure. That could not be killed on that day in November. I'm Tom Brokaw. Good evening.